And now, you may have recently seen that Pizza Hut apologised following online threats to boycott the chain. They were sent threats after using the Sun newspaper to advertise a promotional offer. Well, the fast food chain apologised for any offence that was caused by its partnership with the tabloid newspaper. But this morning we're discussing, should companies bow to pressure from online activists? To discuss this, I'm joined by the Guardian columnist Dawn Foster and investigative reporter at Westmonster.com, Patrick Christys. Good morning to you both. Now, it's important to point out that the promotional offer that Pizza Hut were going to put in the Sun, it didn't even make it to the newspaper, it was pulled and apologised for before it even saw the light of day, wasn't itself offensive. There was nothing wrong with it, but it's simply the collaboration with the Sun title that was perceived to have caused offence. Dawn, what's your take on this?
I think that what Pizza Hut are doing, and similarly with Paperchase, who had a similar problem with the Daily Mail recently, is simply bowing to consumer pressure. I think that we have to, we have to allow companies to make their own decisions about this, and obviously initially Pizza Hut thought it could be a good idea to go into partnership with the Sun, but now that they're realising that there is this big strength of feeling around the Sun's editorial line and how it often incites kind of ill feeling towards Muslims and refugees, etc. So I think that all Pizza Hut are doing is bowing to consumer pressure, as Paperchase were before them.
OK, you say consumer pressure, you could say vocal minority, because, Patrick, when you look at the statistics, this campaign was started by an outlet called Stop Funding Hate. They've got a Twitter account of around 83,000 followers. On Facebook, they've got 240,000 followers. But if you look at The Sun, according to the Press Gazette recently, it's happily bought by nearly 10 million people, and it's the second most read UK paper online, 26.2 million people. So it's quite a David and Goliath style sides to the argument.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're bowing to consumer pressure. I think they've been quite weak, actually, because as well, if you look at Stop Funding Hate's Twitter, they asked people to comment to Pizza Hut about their kind of regret that they've actually chosen to advertise with the Sun. 30 people commented on that. I mean, there's more people in this room. And I think actually what we're seeing now is quite a dangerous precedent in British society, that you're seeing quite a radical left-wing group, I would argue, that Stop Funding Hate are. They're very pro-EU, they're very pro-uncontrolled immigration, and what they're doing is they're trying to censor the British press. They're behaving in a kind of way tantamount to fascism, really, by trying to censor the British press and basically stop any kind of publication that differs from their views. And I think that's really wrong. But I also think if they really did care about hate and stopping things that were detrimental to British society, instead of caring about what a pizza company's advertising policy is, they should be lobbying the government to stop giving council houses to returning ISIS jihadis, or they should be looking at extremism in Britain. You know, instead they're talking about pizza, and I think that's a bit odd.
It's quite interesting, Dawn, because it seems that a lot of companies now are subjected to criticism online, and it very soon becomes viral. It's seen by thousands of people, and to a lot of people it will look like Pizza Hut panicked here and didn't want this to get any bigger. It might not have done, but they've chosen to exercise caution rather than see where it went.
No, absolutely. But I think this is also part of a very, very long-running sort of campaigning tactic. So people have used consumer boycotts for years and years and years. There was a very long-running one against Nestle. And obviously when the News of the World folded, part of that was to do with a lot of people phoning up people who advertised in them and expressing their displeasure. So I think that there is a very vocal campaigning strategy there.
It's not bullying other people to have your view in terms of, if you don't like the Sun newspaper or the Daily Mail, the other example you used, just don't buy it. Should you be bullying other people into following your actions?
I don't think they are bullying. I think, as you said, it's a very, very small number of people who are expressing displeasure, and then those companies are making the decision whether or not they want their brand to be tainted in that way. And obviously now online, a lot of companies spend a lot of time on Twitter, they spend a lot of time on social media trying to build up a brand, and people like Paperchase didn't want their brand to be associated with that kind of ill feeling, and that's why they ended up moving away from it. But then when Paperchase withdrew their advertising, a lot of right-wing columnists came out and said that they would therefore boycott Paperchase, and that's perfectly acceptable. It's perfectly fine, and it just plays into the same kind of tactic.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I find there's a massive hypocrisy around Stop Funding Hate, really. I mean, I think if you go on their website, on their homepage, I think their definition of hate is wrong. I think their definition of hate is actually things they just don't agree with a lot of the time. For example, there's an article there that they've got a Mail front page, 28,000 EU migrants have been given British passports. Then the other one, 500,000 migrants have been given council houses. These are actually just facts. There's no hate involved here. And I think there's a massive political push. And as I've said, they're trying to bracket anything they don't agree with and kind of clamp down and control any kind of political opposition to their kind of rabid left-wing point of view, in my opinion.
Well, it comes down to what newspaper you read, because I know some people, regardless of who advertises in the Daily Mail, for example, regardless of who advertises it or not, they choose to read the Daily Mail because they think that it speaks for them and it, you know, feeds their views. Is that not people's choice? Should other people be dictating what we read?
I don't think they are. I think one of the things is a lot of people, for instance, do shop at Paperchase. They will buy, you know, food from Pizza Hut, and people are pointing out that they spend their money there. Pizza Hut make profit out of them, and they don't want that money going to those papers and therefore funding a lot of these kind of, you know, a lot of this genuine hatred, and there is a lot of hatred in the Daily Mail. So I think that people have every right to say, we are buying your products, why are you using our money in this way? And if people said the same about the Guardian, if people took a big position against the Guardian's editorial line, I wouldn't be upset if they started lobbying people who advertised in my paper.
OK, Dawn, Patrick, really interested to get your point of view on that. Lots of you getting in touch on Twitter and via email this morning. Keep your thoughts coming in, news@sky.com or @Sky. Sarah J, thank you both.